Hey guys, and welcome back to Divine Journey 2. Last time we messed a little bit with RFTools dimensions, and gained access to Dimensional Shards, which let us craft a couple of our tier 6 seeds here, including Awakened Draconium, which is awesome, and we finished up by building the Infusion multi-block. So yeah, the goal for today is to hopefully complete out chapter 27. Right off the bat here though, we've got a couple more machines to make, and if you were here during the live stream, you'll know just how expensive these things are, so yeah, I guess I'll have to get to this. I think in total I counted 5 extra machine frames we're going to need. Thankfully, now that we have uranium seeds, it should be a little bit easier to craft these compounds. But again, we still have to get bromine, plutonium, and rhodium. Just before we get to that actually, there is one thing that we have to fix. So even though this auto infusion matrix works as is, the game really doesn't like the way we've got it set up, so it has to change. So basically the way we are doing it, or were doing it before I just changed this, is these lines here with the storage buses for Essentia used to be connected to our main network, and then we had P2Ps going into the multi-block there. But since there's nowhere else that we're using Essentia, right, we don't need it anywhere else other than for this multi-block, we are going to completely separate the system here and make it its own subnet with nothing else touching it. I think something to do with sending the Essentia through P2P channels, the game just really doesn't like, so yeah, I think, like, I've had multiple crashes since setting this up, so I think it's time to change this. So we basically just have to ensure that none of these cables touch. And instead of having P2Ps here, we actually don't, in fact, we don't even need P2Ps at all. We just have to give power to this subnet, so we can use quartz fiber for that. Power this controller, and then all of the Essentia belongs on this network here. Oh, and when we switch this buffer around, we have to make sure that we put the input bus on it. This belongs here, with the filter in there, of course. We will, however, have to separate these interfaces, as we want these on our main network and not connected to the Essentia one. So this line here snakes all the way around and connects down here, which is our main network. Alright, it's all been cleaned up, put on some facades, we even got our terminal back here to view our Essentia, as if nothing ever happened. And the game's much happier now, there's no more lag. So yeah, now for these extreme crafts. Let's see how long this is going to take me. Alright, so after many hours of crafting, we have our second batch of highly radioactive dimension splitting compound coming through. I have also went ahead and upgraded the energy hatch on this to ultimate tier, as well as the one on this laser, so no more voiding items because of not enough power. We can't afford expensive mistakes at this point. Also, I realised here that for this compound we need bromine, right? To get bromine, you can get this from ytterbium, which comes from arsenic and rubidium. Rubidium comes from tungsten. And if we take a look at chapter 16 here for the seeds, there's actually no tungsten quest, even though the seed does exist. So yeah, I kind of just stumbled upon this recipe for tungsten, so that does at least ease up the burden a little bit on rubidium. And I've also prepared the materials for 5 more machine frames. This won't be our last 5, but it's going to be the next 5 for sure. And now that we have uranium seeds, I've just hooked up this magma crucible and permanently fed it with uranium to give the liquid for this recipe. And now that this interface is here to supply the uranium, we might as well just hook up the outputs, since this is highly radioactive material after all. We don't want to be touching this stuff. So yeah, that will be sent back into our system. And in fact, now that we have the ultimate energy input hatch on that thing, we can actually just request a recipe for these machine frames, and we'll request our 5 dimensional machine frames. No crafting CPU. Wow, this is a million bytes. Wow. Well, I guess we have to do this craft up by hand then, at least for now. Oh, that's one too many alchemical. Yeah, I already started crafting the next tier of alchemical machine frames. We're going to need a lot more of these. So there's going to be 40 of this compound. Ow. 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 Are we going? We're processing. Okay, nice. Anyways, those machine frames are going to be used to progress this chapter, starting with the matter receiver. And there was one of them inside the dimension, however, it does contain NBT data, which means we have to craft a fresh one, unfortunately. Oh, and this is nearly 2 million. Oh, okay, we're going to have to split this up. Alright, let's at least upgrade one of these processors. Throw in another 1024 crafting storage. Alright, I got the craft for this thing all split up and crafted them all separately. We're going to put it together by hand. This should be our quest. This gives us some back sheets as well. These are going to come in useful. We can also pick up our dimensional shards. The infused ender pearls we made last episode. Infused diamonds. And that's 3 more quests out of the way. In fact, do we get any rewards for this? Crystalline? Sure. Dimensional shard and more crystalline. Not bad rewards, I guess. Alright, so our next quest here is for the dimlet parcels, which we can find in the RFTools dimensions. It turns out they do actually have a crafting recipe. This doesn't seem very worthwhile, considering these are 100% random. Let's maybe, especially since the rewards really aren't that great either. However, the rewards on this thing are amazing. This is 2 empty dimension tabs. Let's definitely upgrade our charged porter. Oh, is it not going to give us the quest? Oh, I think there's NBT on this. Okay, let's try crafting another one. Alright, please don't be a waste of resources. Are we going to get it the second time? We got it. I think it's because I had it in my hand and I had the jetpack on charging. I don't know. Anyways, it's time to craft some more dimensions. So the first thing we're actually going to do here is craft a liquid absorber. This does take a dimensional machine frame, so it's not a cheap block by any means. And this is also only a one-time use. The rest of the materials aren't too bad once we have the machine frame. And this liquid absorber is used in the dimlet workbench. We're going to actually use this to create liquid iodine, which is used for our tiny chaos fragments. So the idea is that we're going to create a dimension that's filled with this stuff. And once we have infinite iodine, we have effectively free chaos shards. This mesquite here is from void metal, which we have seeds for. And the titanium oxide is just from compressed titanium, which is also basically free. However, to be able to craft this liquid iodine dimlet, we need some of the control circuits we looted last episode. Luckily, we do have 1 rarity 5, which is required for this one. And we're going to be doing this process a couple of times actually with these absorbers. So I've replaced our old setup here that we used to use for star metal, and I've simply placed a block placer and a fluid placer. And this is going to be our setups to fill these absorbers with. So I think we have to place this above the fluid. We then need to supply this with 8 buckets of iodine, which unfortunately we can't take out of this input hatch, so we have to make up a little bit more. I think there's some brewing right now. Yeah, we have 6 buckets here. Place this in the tank, picked up by the liquid absorber, and we can see we're at 12%. We need to melt a little bit more beam core for nickel chloride. And we're at 100%. Okay, let's try this thing out. Alright, so now are we going to be able to craft this? Oh, we can. Look at that. Yeah, we've got liquid iodine now. We got 2 empty dimension tabs for the quest reward. And the quest reward for the absorber here gives us a terrain liquid dimlet. So we can inscribe both of those into the dimension tab. We can call this iodine. After this thing charges up, we can dial it in the dial-in device. And we're off. Oh, look at this. Look at all this fluid. Oh, and is that a slime island down there? Well, there's only one thing to do with this, and that is the builder. Oh yeah. Look how quickly this is filling up. 1 million buckets of iodine. Okay, nice. It would help if we had some power here, though. Oh yeah, now we're rolling. I think we're going to fill a couple of these demonically gargantuan drums, and that should probably last us the rest of the pack. I hope anyway. Okay, the other tank is filling up. I got about half of a tank here. But yeah, we can just hook this up to this liquid crafter, enable the inputs, and this more or less obsoletes these 2 liquid crafters we just built. So yeah, I don't know if we should tear them down or just leave them. Either way, there's no need for them, and we now have effectively free chaos shards. Anyways, looking back at our quests here, these 4 ingots on the right hand side are basically suggestions on what we should farm in the dimensions. However, star metal we have seeds for, so this feels a little bit redundant. Almost 500k star metal plus essence. Mystic blocks may be a little bit more useful though. However, we do have these fully automated, so I don't really see a reason to do this either. Let's just craft the blocks we need for the quest, and we'll probably never have to craft these again. So premium is also the same. We have a very robust farm system. So I think instead of bothering with the dimension, we're just going to craft this thing. I mean, what is it going to cost us? Some living rock and mana steel, and the rest is all essences. However, the last one here, stellar alloy, well, this is not trivial, right? We need Gaia spirits for this. So for this one, we definitely will make another liquid absorber. And you might be wondering why we're not doing stellar alloy blocks for the dimension. Well, apparently only the fluid exists for this. And to get enough fluid for the absorber, we do have to do a quick Gaia fight here, craft up our stellar alloy, melt it down into the fluid, and feed the liquid absorber. Also, I didn't realise that this thing was pretty much instant to fill up, so there's not really much need of a fluid placer here. Especially if we're just doing 1 bucket at a time, we could just place it in this block space. So the only thing is, to get this stellar dimension dimlet, we do need another rarity 5 circuit. Which does mean coming back to this Dimension 6 that we built last episode, and loot all of these structures. Hopefully we get lucky. Alright, we got a decent mixture from that little trip. We did, however, get a couple of rarity 5 dimlets, which we can extract here inside the workbench. I'm not sure if this is randomized, whatever this is able to extract from this, but it is certainly affected by the rarity of the dimlet itself. So how far away are we from this? We're missing this one. I'm not sure exactly what that one is though. It's hard to tell with these circuits. You know what, let's just keep melting this stuff, especially our duplicates here. Aha, we got it. Turns out it's a type controller. Put in the liquid absorber, and we have stellar alloy. Oh man, this place is laggy. There's too much fluid here. Okay, let it load, let it load. Let's pick up all of this stellar alloy. Oh, and there's even some structures over there as well. Interesting. Okay, we're gonna let these 3 drums fill up. This one is about half full, just over half full. Alright, so we got pretty much infinite stellar alloy. However, the only way to cast this thing into blocks and ingots is to use the Tinker Smeltery. So I built this little baby smeltery here, but I'm realising now that this is nowhere near fast enough. These casting basins are way too slow. I think we have to scale this up quite significantly. Alright, so I'm about half finished with this room. I thought I would just bring you back and show you this concept. So we have 4 Tinker Smelteries here. This will give us room in case we need to farm some other resources. These smelteries take the input from the gargantuan drums we filled up. Right now I've only got this back one working at the moment. So the input is taken into the first drain via fluid conduit. Then we have a second drain next to the smeltery controller here. This is a fluid laser relay set to only out of adjacent blocks. And the laser relay is hooked up to all of these casting basins, which cast it into blocks. Item conduits send it into this item interface where we have an item laser relay connected to a drawer controller up here. All we're missing is a storage bus on this, and also now to hook up the rest of the smelteries. Okay, we got all of the casting basins hooked up with their lasers and their item conduits. Man, that was a lot of clicking again. Let's make sure we upgrade the drawer. And this thing is just going to slowly empty out our tanks and convert to ingots for us. This is definitely not the most FPS friendly setup with all the fluids, but it's our only option, I believe. So this completes our stellar alloy quest. The mystic blocks have also finished crafting, along with the supremium. And the last dimension we're going to pick up just now is Dimensional Shards. And I know that we got these last episode, however it would be nice if we could just have a pure flat void world of this stuff. Well, not void world, but you know what I mean. So I think the easiest way to do that is to make the material absorber. I mean, this isn't an easy craft, this does take a dimensional machine frame like the liquid one. However, we do need it fairly soon for the Philosopher's Stone. I'm a little bit scared about this recipe, but... But anyways, making a material absorber gives us the quest. We can pick up the terrain flat dimlet, and we can change our dimensional shard dimlet that we created last episode. Extract this, and I think we have to swap this out. I don't know if we want origin in there though. Maybe just dimensional shard and flat. Let's see what this is like. I hope this is what I think it is, but we have to wait for it to charge first. So while this is charging, I was just having a look at some of the other options we have here. Not every resource, by the way, is in this. However, I did see that we could get bromine from this. This will require us to invest in another liquid absorber, but it's probably something worth doing as we're going to be making bromine a lot. And there's no seed for it or anything, so I think this is something we will invest in eventually. I'm not sure there's much else though. Anyways, our dimension is charged. That's a little bit of dimensional shard. I'm not sure if it's going to be enough though. Wow. Yep, this is exactly what we're after. It would be good if we didn't have mobs here, but I mean, I can't complain. Alright, so we'll place our other builder, swap out the pump card with the fortune quarry. place down the ender chest, and we're off. Look at all that dimensional shard. So I've got the ender chest connected to this drawer network here. All we have to do is add in our dimensional shards, fully upgrade the drawer, and we're pretty much set for those things. And one other perk of having access to dimensional shards is for this alchemical machine frame. We used to have to make crystal cores with rock crystals that had to be at least size 300 and purity of 75. However, we can switch out to using this crystal core recipe, which only requires an infused diamond instead. I say only, these things are still quite expensive, but you know, it's easier than dealing with the rock crystals. So yeah, I thought we were going to have to make these machines on the left here, but it turns out that I think these are optional. We may swing back for them later on, but I think we should move on with some more alchemistry stuff now. Which is part of the reason why I wanted to flesh out our production of dimensional shards, as we can get 16 of this chemical europium per dimensional shard. Oh yeah, and throughout the episode I've been ordering tons and tons of flying ointment, as well as draconic cores. I think I ordered some chaotic cores and chaos shards and things. But yeah, pretty much from now on I just keep requesting that stuff whenever our crafting CPUs are available. Anyways, we want a recipe for europium here. I don't know if we want to include phosphate in this. I mean, we might as well. The dimensional shards don't cost us anything. This goes in our chemical dissolver. And progress. Alright, what's next for us then? Germanium and gallium. Oh, this comes from the fission multi-block. I mean, there's a couple ways to get this, but I think the best way is from europium in the fission multi-block, which gives us gallium and germanium. This just needs another recipe. Alright, 2 quests down. I'm assuming this one over here is from Stellar Alloy. I didn't actually look at this, I just sort of assumed. I'm really hoping it is. Yeah. From Stellar Alloy we get erbium. So I think we'll do the block recipe for this one. And we also get copper chloride and potassium cyanide from this. The copper chloride was actually one of the items that we used in the liquid crafter for Chaos Shards. However, we don't need it for this anymore, so I don't think this is useful for us. And the potassium cyanide we can use for, I guess, potassium, which we can get neon from, and we use neon in the fission coolant units, yeah. So we can pick up the quest for erbium, and it looks like we now need rutherfordium. And you'll never believe how we get this. We have to melt our dimension splitting compounds. At least it's not a chance output, right? I mean, we get 8 per. Okay, this is going to get expensive very quickly. And we can also get rhodium, plutonium, neptunium, and curium this way as well. So this will be another recipe for our dissolver. Oh, this feels terrible to do this, but oh, we're saying goodbye to our dimension splitting compounds. But this gives us our 3 unique materials for the quest. So it looks like we have to fission multi-block this rutherfordium again into tellurium. And then at this point we've got 3 compounds to make. The first one is erbid, gallium, telluride, polychlorid phosphate. I can't believe I got that in one take, but this comes from tellurium, gallium, erbium, polyvinyl chloride, and diammonium phosphate. So yeah, don't ask me where those things come from. Okay, this is going to be a chemical combiner recipe. Things are getting a little bit wild by now. Let's see if we've got the rest of those compounds. Okay, we're missing diammonium phosphate, which is another chemical combiner recipe with hydrogen, phosphate, and ammonium. Alright, so this one is crafting. The next one is the blue one, which comes from neptunium, germanium, butane, and amide. I do recognize some of these, so I think we've got these materials. Yeah, we can craft this one as well. I think it's about time we start adding some more of these chemical combiners, since I'm fairly confident it's going to ask us to put all of these together into these blocks. And these blocks are G.E.R.C blocks, which takes 9 of these, which is, I'm assuming, these 2 compounds put together. Oh, with a bit of curium put in the mix just for good measure as well. We need these crystal blocks to make the next tier of machine frame. Oh boy. Oh boy. We need it for the transmutation tablet, the philosopher's stone. Okay, this is getting okay. Okay. Yep, never stop combining. So those 2 we just crafted, put together with curium, into this. And have a go if you want to try to pronounce that thing. Gerbutyl, erbid, radigvatic, curiopolychlorophosphate, if I was to guess. Anyways, that's another combiner recipe. And our quest. And yeah, this does open up our G.E.R.C block. I'm really curious if we have enough at least for one of these things. Wow, this takes 40 blocks of stellar alloy. Yeah, I think we do have to expand this. I mean, yeah, look at the rate we get one of these things. We need thousands of these. Well, in that case, let's see about getting, I don't know, 3 more of these? Yeah, I think 3 more is a good number. This does mean 3 more fusion crafting cores and 3 more alchemical machine frames. You know what, let's do 2 dissolvers and 2 combiners, which is 4 fusion crafting cores. Can we get 4 by any chance? I highly doubt it. Okay, we're out of magical leather. And that's actually it. Wow. And yeah, magical leather is just a buffer issue. Oh, that's right, and these also do take these hand mirrors, which we used to have to start in the infusion craft. However, we do have the auto infusion matrix for this now. Let's maybe do one of these fusion crafts at a time. Yeah, we can get one at least. And I've pre-crafted up 3 alchemical machine frames, which means we only actually need 1 more of these, which we can request. And while we wait on a few crafts, let's also make sure we pick up our quest rewards. I'm sure this will help us. Rhodium, ytterbium, yttrium. I'm getting the hang of all these chemicals by now, and some of them I actually do recognise from Greg Tech. I'm sure you might as well. Zirconium, and infused diamonds or ender pearls. I think we'll take the pearls. And yeah, unfortunately we do still have to do some of these hand mirror parts by hand. Oh, and by the way, thank you for the suggestion on using acceleration cards for this infusion matrix. I did actually have this jam up yesterday when I first set this up. But fully upgrading these with acceleration cards seemed to have fixed that issue, and we haven't had it jam up since, so yeah, it seems to be working well as is. And while some of that stuff is crafting, I did notice the quest reward here for this bound dislocator is 6 corrupted cores. And this takes our advanced charged porter, which we made earlier. I don't think we're going to be using this, to be honest, and crafting another isn't too bad. We need 6 more ruthenium. Yeah, we can do this. Okay, we got our dislocator. And the bound dislocator. It turns out these things completely skip the chemical combiner step. It just requires our chemical caster and the fusion plant. Anyways, there is our quest. We get 6 corrupted cores. And one of our fusion crafting cores is finished. Well, the materials have finished at least. Now just for 3 more of these things. And this is also the part of the pack where we really have to think about scaling up our production. Oh, great wood sapling. This thing is a major bottleneck when it comes to crafting any sort of draconic items. The Starlight Infuser is competing for both magical leather and also resonating gems, which we need a lot of, especially for galactic ingots. So I think between episodes I'm going to add a second one of these over here. Oh, and we have rock crystals here still. I forgot about these. Oh, and I think the G.E.R.C block just finished. It did, which is our last item. Last item in chapter 27. Awesome. Which means we have 3 chapters left to go. Oh man, this is exciting. But it only gets more difficult from here. So yeah, this opens up ProjectE. Oh man, and we have to make this penultimate machine frame. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, even though it's going to be such a grind to get through this. Things are getting super expensive. But yeah, let's not rush ahead, let's not get too excited. We've still got a little bit to do in 27 and expand our processes even more. There's still a couple of bottlenecks we have to fix. First one being our alchemistry setup here. And the materials for this will take probably about a half hour, maybe even more than that actually. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap the episode up here. So yeah, that is going to do us for today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some more Divine Journey 2.